Assalamu alaikum. Isn't this your lucky day, huh? Seeing me second time in a row in the same day. I know, I'm enjoying it as well. Seeing myself so many times in a single day. Pretty fun, very overwhelming. No, I've got my sister coming up, so I'm pretty excited for that. She's a living legend. Walaikum assalam, muhtarama. Parastash Khanam, hope you're well. Family as well. Thank you very much. Glad to see you again. Thank you. I'm very humbled actually, coming from you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm a bit tired of seeing myself so many times in a day. I'm not used to this. Here we go. So hope I can do justice with this one. I'm a bit nervous. So I'm bringing on.
Okay, cool.
Khoray, assalamu alaikum.
وعلیکم سلام ښه یاست جوړ یاست په خیر یاست وروره
تشکر ژوندی اوسئ تاسو انشاءالله کار جوړ یې
مننه
خیر
خیر یاست سلامت اوسئ
فامیل مو انشاءالله ټول ښه وي
شکر دی ټوله ښه دي
خدای
تاسو
مو وکړي
فامیلي ټوله ښه ده په خیر دي
ژوندی اوسئ خورې ژوندی اوسئ موږ خو ټول فامیل ما د پلار و مور و خور و ورور کډه او همسایګان ټول ستاسو ډېره دغه انګریزان چې وایي they're big fans
او ثانک یو
ډېره لوی فان دی ټول او تاسو ته ډېره زیات سلامونه یې زه ډېره خوشحاله یم زه ډېره خوشحاله یم او ډېره مننه چې تاسو موږ د میلمستیا ته راغلئ
مننه
ډېره
خیر
زیات
سلامت اوسئ
مننه خورې خو خښنه غواړم ډېره زیات چې زموږ دغه خلق چې اوس ګوري دوی زیاتره انګلیش غږیږي نو if you're okay with that we'll just go ahead with
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Sure.
How are you doing anyways? You look very fresh. You look very good. You look very fresh. I'm glad to see you. Happy for once.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I had a good day. I had a good start. I worked the whole day.
Alhamdulillah.
It's a good thing. But yeah, it was a good day. Thank you. What's up with you? How are you?
Shukr. I'm just I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm anxious because you are a hero for all of us. You are a living legend, inspiration for all of us, and this goes obviously without saying. It goes.
Thank you.
And obviously we will go through all that. Why do we feel this way about you? Just to give you a little bit about myself, because I'm a nobody, and thank you very much for accepting my request to be here and to talk to us and to my friends. My name is Lamar, or as we say, Lamar. My mom is actually from Speenbold. Actually, she's
nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad is Mangal from Patriot side Karam.
Oh, nice.
So I have always been motivated by you, how strong you've always been, because I was only a so-called musician back in 2007 in Kabul. I was actually born and raised almost, but I did travel from India to Pakistan, Peshawar. I lived there for 7 years. I did my uni there. Ikra University, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but yeah, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You have? Okay. So I was there back in 2003, and we had this very little band back in Kabul. a rock and roll band, a heavy metal band, a very aggressive sort of a style, just to convey our deep pains and thoughts about what was actually happening even back then. And we started this little program, this podcast, me and my cousin who was in the band, and our friend and producer of the film Rock Combo, just to inspire our kids, our youth who wanted to start something like that new rebellious art forms, and we wanted to assist them throughout the way with all these hurdles that we had actually experienced and all that. And then, of course, August 15 happened and everything went sideways. So at the moment, I'm in Australia, in Western Australia, and I'm just trying to do my part. I'm just trying to raise as much as awareness I can through my Afghans only, to talk about Afghanistan, to reach each other and to talk to each other. So that's what I'm trying to do to my very level best. Tell us very briefly about yourself, because I want the people to hear it from your own voice before we start this whole thing.
Sure, sure. So you're doing amazing. I do watch your podcast. I love how you and Shamail, both of you, are doing your amazing things, and that's a good thing because
Thank you.
Dating them. So that's a good thing. Little about me. I was born in Pakistan, in Quetta. We call it Pashtunkhwa, but that's a very political statement. But for us, it's of course Pashtunkhwa. My father is from Maruf, Kandar, and my mother is actually a Kakar from Pashtunkhwa, which is like very anti-against it. They don't tell everyone, but I like accepting my identity. So that's my parents. I grew up in the refugee camp. Of course, growing up was very much different because when you're Afghan and then you're in Pashtunkhwa, but then you're sent to a boarding school, it's very horrifying on many different levels. But I did return to Afghanistan back in 2017, back and forth. And then in 2018, I moved permanently. And since then, I have been in Afghanistan. I studied in Afghanistan. I work in Afghanistan. Everything that I do is about Afghanistan. I grew up in a very patriotic or Watan Parast family. So my friends back in Pashtunkhwa used to tell me, your home looks like, embassy of Afghanistan. You have Afghan flags.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful.
So that's my past. I have studied political science and public administration. I'm still a senior at the American University. I work a lot with rural areas because I grew up in a rural refugee camp. My family is from rural areas. It's like, Toba Kakari and Masizei in Pashtunkhwa area. It's literally rural areas. My mother is from that region. Then my father is from Maruf, which is literally mountains. My sister was there last week and it's all mountains. We still don't have electricity or clinics even now. So I grew up in a community that belongs to these roots. And then when I moved back, all my connections went to Spin Boldak because our communities moved to Spin Boldak. So I have very deep association and affiliation with when it comes to Boldak. I love Boldak. It's desert, it's hard, and it's all rough, but it's nice. Very hard.
I love that poem. Yeah, of course, hard.
It's always the work that I do is always in digital literacy and digital healthcare because the reason I started this work was because of Boldak. All my families and community members, they were in Boldak. And when we went to this Marufian Kale, my cousin, who's literally my first cousin, and when I talked to her and she's like, we are here this is our 5th year and we still don't have a school. And then she tells me, and she wants to be a doctor, but then at the same time when she wants to be a doctor, they don't have a clinic because her mother passed away and she wants to be a doctor just to help people like her mother. So it's very the same story that inspires and drives every one of us to become the person that we are. And that's where I started with Learn. I focused on her. We sent her to school after a year of working with her. When she's sent to the school in Kandahar, even there we don't have physics and maths teachers. And when we investigate, the reason is we don't have a lot of faculty that could teach in the native language in Kandahar. So we had to find all the resources, and we started with digital literacy, which is an offline app where you upload every Pashto lecture, Dari lecture, to this app, and then you study with the lectures, you study from the books, and then you learn from it, and you are assessed by our monitors who are visiting you every now and then. So that's where we started. But at the same time, we started with this campaign called Menstrual Hygiene Campaign, where we teach girls about menstruation, how not to miss school, how hygiene is important, stuff like that. But at the same time, right now, we are focusing on three different things, and I don't want to confuse you a lot. It's digital literacy, it's healthcare, where we give free checkups, free medicine, free ultrasound and tests to all the women who need it right now. And apart from that, we focus on humanitarian response, where we cover families' expenses for 6 months, but at the same time, make sure that they have access to sustainable livelihoods, like they learn tailoring, or they learn they start with their own greenhouses, or they start with their own transportation zaranj, like stuff like that. And then after 6 months, they're able to like support their own families. So these are key areas that we are focusing on right now.
Khoray, you have just almost you have covered the whole government, a stable government of a whole nation by providing education, by providing a womanist with medical and humanitarian. So I think those are very fundamental points that a nation starting from a very small village or household to whole country would actually need. So kudos and God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless your father, your mother, who actually raised you the way you are. So we all really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that quick info. And of course, I had done my research as much as I could, but I wanted to hear it from you yourself. Let's get into these small rapid fire questions, which is good for our icebreaker, so we know a little bit more about this young lady called Pashtana. We just want to know about her personally a little bit, okay? All right, so if you time travel 3 years ago from now, what would you change? One thing.
I would tell my father not to go out a lot, to be honest, because he was like one of the few people who had the COVID. He passed away because of COVID. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is I would literally beg the world leaders not to trust Zalmay Khalilzad. Second thing. And the third thing would be begging Ghani not to actually, like, make us go through this hell that we are going through right now. So I would have done all those three things if I had to time travel.
Beautiful answer. Always makes sense, of course. One historical figure, if you could meet and ask him or her one thing, what would that be, and who would that be?
Can I take a few? Not one, just
sure.
like
sure.
I would probably meet Zorgonana, because she was very courageous. She literally held Kandahar together when it was becoming Afghanistan. So of course Zorgonana, because she was this amazing lady that you hear about. I would meet Malalai Maiwande, of course, because
of course, why not?
Aisha Durrani, Gawhar Shad Begum, and probably Suraya Tarzi, all these ladies and all these lines, because all these women, they had sort of impact when I was growing up. So I would really want to meet all these women. But if I had to choose one, it's probably going to be Zorgonana. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I have never really heard. Well, I've heard Malolai a couple of times from our female friends, my sisters, but Zargonana, this is the first, and it shows how deeply research you have into all these historical women and how inspired you are, and that's amazing. This one could be a bit tricky, so if you want to take your time or you want to pass it for later, it's up to you. So, what's the fundamentals in the misery of Afghanistan?
I'm going to sound very sarcastic or maybe very scandalous around this, but I want
Go for it.
I want to say it on camera and on record. And it's a very good question that people don't ask. First is ethnocentrism that we have. We are ethnic, we love Kaum Parasti. We stick to it. And I'm going to be honest, I grew up in that community, so I know everyone, if this is a Barakzai, we're going to stick with that. If that's a Pupa, not even Pashtun and Tajik, not even that sense. But whether we are like, oh, this group, that group, this person, this district. That makes us at times united, but also destroys the whole narrative of Afghan. And Afghan, yeah, not that I'm labeling it on someone who doesn't want to be called Afghan, but overall, it's the first, step towards destruction. Second is weaponizing religion. Religion is supposed to be sacred, spiritual, your safe space or safe haven for you to feel connected to the God, to feel connected with the person, with the being who is making you feel alive. Your soul. It's a very private matter, and people. First of all, socialize the whole religion thing. Second of all, weaponize it and use it on different narratives. And all the regional countries, all the Muslim countries, somehow find Islam in Afghanistan to fight over it. They fund Islam, and that's where our masjids are targeted, where our people are targeted, where our Eidgah is targeted. So for me, these two things, they're very important. And at the same time, we are enablers of corrupt leaders. No matter how much corrupt they are, we stand by them. Why? Because of the first thing, which is because they belong to that tribe, to that ethnicity. So for me, those three things, I feel like that has destroyed Afghanistan over and over and over again.
Bravo. Well, I would 110% agree with you on the mode, and it's so beautifully that you just mentioned that religion has to be spiritual, has to be sacred, it has to be personal. But unfortunately, as you said, it has been weaponized. Unfortunately, what's the worst out of these two? Fear of losing or regret of not trying?
Regret of not trying. Fear of losing. Because fear of losing, you lose a thing, you lose a person, you lose a moment, you lose an opportunity. But at least you tried for it and you were there for it, you were present. Regret of not trying, I used to tell my father when I was 16, and he was like, go to Oxford, go to Germany, study. You know how our families are all Kakazu di Pamri Kakidi, why don't you go? Why don't you go to America?
Of course.
My father used to tell me, why don't you go? Your cousins are in Canada and Germany. They're living their best lives. Why don't you go? And I used to tell him with this one thing. And I'm very scared of it. It's the fact that when I'm 60 or 70, because Afghans have very short lives, we are not 100 years old people. So when I'm 60 or 50 and when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to regret that I didn't work in Afghanistan. I didn't stay in Afghanistan. I didn't study in Afghanistan. I didn't connect with my community when I was young and I had the resources. So I'm not saying that it's a very noble cause or I have a savior complex or something like that. But I told him, I was like, I'm going to regret going to the university in Germany or in London, but I won't regret going there, even if I lose everything. And I did. I lost access to my school. I lost access to my office. But I don't regret the decision that I made when I was 16, 17. I still stand by it because at the end of the day, it's like, at 60, if I didn't have tried it when I was young, I would have always regretted it in my head. And then I wouldn't have been able to return. So yeah, always the fear of the regret thing is always very.
Wow. I think I should say that our dear friend, beloved Blingiston, she answered the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said that the regret of not trying, because this is a very important thing for most of the people. They fear fear of losing actually binds them for not even trying because they don't want to lose. It takes a very strong character to actually not be scared of losing, but to try and try and try again. So beautifully. And I, from deep of my heart, I wish that, as we people say back home, that my good life, my healthy life goes to you. So you live beyond 60, 70 because we need you.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
we're
you.
not doing anything actually.
Oh, no.
Last one. Stronger children or safer children?
Safer children.
Because safer. Okay.
Why? Safe children can grow to be strong. Strong children can still be put in harm and be harmed. So for me, safety is always important. That's the reason. Like I myself have been through, like, you know, when you are in tribal region, in rural region, you have badal, badi, nang, ghairat all day long. You just live, die, everything in it. And it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. It teaches you being strong. I have lost cousins when I was like around 6, 7, and they were murdered. And we had to act strong because that's what I was taught by my father. All the ghairat that you can see, you are not supposed to shed one tear. But I would have been much more safer if I didn't have to see all that bloodshed, you know. So for me, it's very important to have that safety net, you know, around children. It traumatizes them. And when children grow up to be that sense, it always scars them. So it's very important to have safe children from all the environment, if that's what your context was. Because for me, safety means security-wise, always.
Bravo. Yes, yes. Obviously, if you change the context of the question, that what if safety is under oppressors, and
Yeah.
strength means that you have to fight against that, then you would obviously prefer strong.
Of course, because that's one thing that you're taught, is the fact that, that's what we were taught when we were children. You can, like, you know, let go of things when you're physically, constrained or limited. You can also let go of the things, like, you know, when you're limited in some way. But when you're mentally limited, it somehow affects you, your next generation, and every other person who's involved with you. So right now, I'm not saying that, yeah, let's continue the bloodshed. But even with the safety that everybody was crying about, we still, our Shia community in Kandahar was targeted. People are still dying. People in NDS who used to work, my own family members, are still missing right now. My own uncle, I don't know where he is. So when you're talking about safety, what sort of safety? I'm safe at my home. Of course, my school won't be attacked. But then again, what sort of safety is that where I don't have the freedom to think, not about physical mobility? So of course, then I have to lean towards being strong, because that's what our roots tell us. So yeah.
Bravo, beautiful. This is the last one, and I've just added it. It's always been on my mind.
Yeah.
If Pashtana wasn't into political science, if she was an artist, what art form would she prefer? What sort of artist would she prefer to be?
Music, probably music, because that's one thing that
Musician.
my father pretty much supported.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he forced us into piano lessons and guitar lessons, and I was like, children want that, and Pashtun parents don't allow that, and you are making us go. So it would have been music, and especially piano, because it's always on my mind. If I hadn't been caught in all this, I would have probably been, like, you know, into music, but also into piano. Yeah.
Beautiful. See, I could have not. Well, I'm gonna finish this. Yes, because we couldn't have imagined you saying that you would love to play piano. I would love to hear you someday. You should make some songs, actually. You should.
I only have one training, that's Milli Surud, and that's because my father forced us into learning Milli Surud on piano. That was the only thing that we learned. After that, I was like, I'm done. I have to study 16 hours. I can't do this. And then he forced my brother, of course. So at least I was off the hook. So yeah.
I would love to share a story about because my dad, like my uncles, they all grew up in Kabul.
Yeah.
So they actually grew up in there. And but my grandfather, he was a very old school Pashtun Mangal, right?
Yeah,
very old school army dude. And my dad was the youngest in his family. he was an Air Force officer.
Oh,
When
wow.
he used to hide under 3 blankets and then practice harmonia, so his father wouldn't hear it in Kabul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really amazing that your father actually wanted you to learn music.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
even though, yeah, it's beautiful, inspirational, everything. All right, so that went like amazing. That went like a hot knife into butter. Very fluent. Thank you very much. We know a little bit more about
Sure.
Pashtanas as a person. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go into our bread and butter for this session because I know you're busy immensely. So I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can because this is all about you. What you are doing at the moment is working with children and mostly female education wise. And this relates to technology more than face to face,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? What are some of the risks that you're expecting, even though it being offline, but still you would need some sort of support from maybe material or maybe connection wise or maybe software wise, maybe hardware wise. What are you expecting? Is it going to get really harder for you in order to keep this going, or or not much would affect your job as far as learn is concerned?
I'm gonna give you an example. In the past, we had around 7,000 students who we used to teach, but through public schools because we didn't have a lot of teachers in Kandahar. And we have 18 schools in whole Kandahar that are Lysa level or up to grade 12. In the past, after August 15, now only we have around 100 girls who are fully enrolled. The fact that I mean, like, one thing I have learned in my life, working in Afghanistan is never going to be easy, especially for Afghan women. I'm not a white woman who has that, passport from another privileged country who can come in, and if I'm kidnapped, somebody's going to come and rescue me, and the whole country is going to go crazy and all that. So working in Afghanistan is always going to be hard, and I just don't want to make it sound like a piece of cake or something, because women are working really hard. Even I'm privileged at times because I'm protected by my staff, by my family members, by my cousins. Everyone is looking out. So I don't want to hide that as a fact. Second thing is, right now what we are working on is, it could have been much bigger only if the schools were open, only if we had access to those schools, only if these girls could assemble there. Yes, when it comes to Afghanistan, imagine the second largest province of Kandahar. And the reason I'm talking about Kandahar again and again is because I'm more educated on that front, and I want to talk about things that I'm educated about. In whole Kandahar, we have around 17 districts, and we have only 18 schools in only Kandahar city. Other areas, other districts, we don't have Lysa or 12th grade schools for girls, or for boys, even at times in different districts. Now imagine that on 34 provinces level. Let's talk about Kunduz. Let's talk about Baghlan. Let's talk about Hazarajat. Let's talk about not Mazar-e-Sharif, but Badakhshan. Let's talk about not Herat, but Farah. All these areas have the same problem. Even with Herat and Mazar, I'm pretty much sure that there are districts without high schools. And I know, our families, our people are very conservative and traditional. They wouldn't let their daughter go to the main city from one district just to attend a school. This could have all been tackled only if we had more security on the security front, but also at the same time less corruption and more infrastructural development. That's the first thing. The second thing I learned right now is, of course, we are fundraising simultaneously. We are taking tablets. We are focusing on internet. We are begging internet companies in Afghanistan to, like, provide better internet. We are in talks with transportation companies to, like, bring in the girls from different routes and stuff like that. We take different avenues for different classes on different days. These are all things that we are doing simultaneously just for 2 45 minutes lessons. Like, this is all the work that goes into it. These teachers who bicharagan, I was talking to them in the morning and they were like, we go in one dress and then we come out in another dress, like in another hijab, because that's the only way that's possible right now. When we are taking testimonial pictures for from the students, we make them wear another hijab, but when they're going out, they wear different hijabs so that they are not traced or tracked or something like that. And we have been doing this for 2 weeks now. The reason I'm saying this openly is the fact that Afghanistan needs infrastructural development right now, needs capacity building right now. See, poverty you can overcome. Humanitarian crisis you can overcome. But the fact that people are bottlenecking or choking us on our own things, it's something that hurts me a lot. All these organizations, they're going to make big money over Afghanistan right now. They are going to come in. Ahmad Mahmoud is going to take $16,000 for working in a conflict zone, but they won't enable an Afghan who has the same education to work in that space and pay them, let's say, $2,000, $1,500. I'm not exploit your workers, but that's the standard where he can live happily. Afghans can get all the money. No, all these international people, they come, they give us backpacks, for their own publicity. UNICEF gives you backpacks and there's one copy, one pen, and then they are happy with it and they show it off and they're like, oh, we're doing an amazing job. And in 3 years projects post that, there is no sustainability. The teachers don't know how to get paid. The students don't know how to get paid. So I'm trying to fill that gap. It's not going to be easy for Learn. We at times are like, in fight with all these big organizations because I call them out and then they call me out in the ministries and stuff. And it's hard to sustain like that because I'm not making allies. I'm literally making enemies against me that are big corporations. So that's the first thing. The second thing is our own Afghans right now are very scared to send their daughters to school. We're preparing a time class for 20 girls, and it takes us 3 sorts of guarantees: guarantee of transportation, guarantee of fiscal stability, and then the third one is like talking to their parents, me calling them and I'm talking to sort of things that you are not supposed to do, right? But I do it because those are things that are important. If I don't get that girl to that class, the international organization is going to get that donation, but they won't fund any more girls in that area. So it's always hard. You don't have electricity. That's always an issue. We found a solution for solar panels with that. You don't have internet. We are working on satellites that are going to be launched so that we don't have to worry about internet every now and then. We don't have devices. Every now and then we take some from through Pakistan or Iran or through Tajikistan at times. We smuggle them in and then we just not like smuggling illegally, but we take them in and then they are smuggled in Kandahar, of course. So all those are problems. Capacity building is a problem. And right now, because everyone is so scared, they just don't want to move with something else, These are all issues. But the one thing that I believe in it is the fact that there is always solutions for problems. It's the fact that who wants to solve it? Who is actually committed to it? That's always an issue for me, because in Afghanistan, many people come to develop their careers by working in conflict zones. I'm going to say it again. And then there are people whose next assignment is not a conflict zone, but it's their country. It's not a next assignment. It's a livelihood. It's a need. So I just want to living a life, sustaining a livelihood, educating your daughter, putting her through high school is always going to be challenging in Afghanistan. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. That's one thing that I believe in.
Beautifully said. I still remember that I heard one of your interviews, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was CNN, where you actually stated that the American army are not the superheroes. They're not like the movies that they're gonna be the savior. I just love that. I was like, this is so beautifully said.
see, in their heads, US, France, whoever came into Afghanistan, they trained their armies in Afghanistan. They drove Afghans, they abused Afghans, they abused farmers, they abused people. I don't want to say, oh, everything bad is happening because of us. All these Western countries are responsible for that. They did that to us. So first of all, they did all that. And then in their head, they think that all these movies that are made in Hollywood, where somehow their Marvel heroes come and rescue everyone and the world is saved because US is going to be attacked. No, that's not how the planet works. And most importantly, I still don't understand how a farmer is going to be a threat to a marine, you know? So at the end of the day, they are not superheroes, whichever country they were from. And they just came in to train their own armies in our own land and left us like this. So for me, every time when we talk about Afghanistan, or even at times about my work, I always want to focus on Afghanistan first, because it's Afghanistan that is suffering because of all these organizations who wanted to make their careers, run their PR strategies, because we are sort of a poverty porn. Our torn clothes, our old people, our torn shoes. These are sort of things that they thrive on. They take pictures with you and then they take it and show it to the world. Not that I have to show testimonials. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that's not how you get off so easily. You gave me one packet of flour, but you're getting paid $17,000 for doing that. So yeah.
Of course. I tell you something with my own experience, and I keep repeating this in almost all my lives, that when we started our whole band, the whole initiative, it was not a lot to do with the music, because we were not musicians. I'm still not. But it was a way to convey what we wanted to say. And the whole idea was to say that, you know what, this is a circus now. You know, this is a circus, and this is 2007, 8, and we weren't always like this. What you've seen on the TV, you know, we weren't always like with the torn boots and dirty clothes and with the things. You know, we were a built nation. We were a progressive, strong community and nation as people. You know, so our whole initiative of the band was like that. I tell you a short story. We went to India in I think it was 2013 early, for a rock festival. And after we did our gig on the stage, and we had a lot of journalists came and spoke to us. And for me, it was a really common thing to talk to all these big media outlets and not be actually published. Because I'll say now why. And this Hindustan Times came to me and spoke with me. And I told him a Hindi lyrics of a song, right? I said that the whole meaning of the song is that the way you see your country and land, with blue rivers running, golden wheat on your fields, that's the same that we have in there. Okay, so maybe you should consider coming to our land as well and see that we have the same things. And I love my land as you love your own land. And such stuff never got published. I've spoken to New York Times, and they've asked me, "Oh, right, man. So you've got anything else to say?" I was like, yeah. I was like, "I've got a new song." He was like, yeah. I was like, UN, United Nations dictators, bitch. And he was like, oh, okay. Never got published. Never. So obviously, yeah.
I like, you know, why I do live shows a lot, because they can't cut me off. They can't take me off, right? So when I go live, I'm like, this person did this. And I just go offline. Then they don't call me again. I have seen this happen so many times, but at least I get to call them out. So that's a good thing. That's the first. Yeah. And like, you know, you always see they want to find victims in Afghanistan. They strong people who have overcome child marriage, like some abuse in their life, who has to be a victim in their head. All these journalists who come to me, I'm like, we are normal people. Of course, we have our own feuds, we have our own petty fights that we have within us. But then you guys do it the same, right? You guys are no different. France and England literally, like, conflicted the whole world. And due to them, we are. So I'm like, even we have petty crimes, but we haven't done human rights abuses on that level where you guys have done all throughout the world. So it's always with them, a victim, somebody who has done amazing job with their, like, post-victimhood. I'm not saying Afghans are not victims. Afghans are victims of war. Afghans are victims of.
I've always been.
But with journalists, they come to Afghanistan to find that one case that is going to make their career. And it's horrifying to me at times. They could just literally write about everything. They whitewashed Taliban in the past 3 years so much that they became acceptable, And that's something that horrifies me, how the media works. And that's why I go on live shows and call people out.
Bravo. So about this new regime and the old government pre-15 August. Let's just say, for this conversation's sake, on the paper, right? We had our own rights and laws and rules in the past.
Yeah.
And on the paper, this new government says, okay, on the paper, this is this rights for women. It just specify it. During past, present, we can see, at least from the media, we're far away, we can see that nothing is actually happening the way that we were promised to. But what are the core differences on the paper, official on the paper, with past government and this new regime when it comes to women and their rights? Have you heard anything about this? Do you know anything about that?
If we are going to talk about on the paper, we had one of the most liberal, most traditional, and most religious, all three infused constitution in the region. I'm going to be very honest. We had more rights than people in Iran. We had more rights than people in Pakistan. We had even at times rights more than people in India. Right? So that's something that I cherished about the past, or about our constitution post 2002. Of course, there will be differences throughout but that's something that people do to coexist. Women could have become leaders. Women could have become judges. They could have studied in schools. They could have become engineers, scientists, doctors, whatever. They could have gone legally to school. They could have accessed that schooling in all their native languages. That is something that we should be highlighting right now. They could have traveled easily. There was no restriction on that. There wasn't any mobility caution that we had to focus on. That was all on paper. Of course, women were harassed, groped, and everything. They were tortured at times. There were human rights abuses at times. All these Komandanan and people, they were all part of it. So I don't want to go into that detail because that was a reality and people know about it, and I've talked about it a lot. Right now, it's a white paper, and it's all the horrifying things in my head that are going to be written down there. I'm not saying, okay, Taliban are bad, blah, 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 and play that card that majority of the time people blame us for playing. And there are articles about us, oh, but the Taliban are not so bad, Daesh is bad. For me, they're no different. They're murdering, they murdered past. They murdered minorities in the past. They murdered women in the past. They targeted journalists in the past. How do we forget all that so soon and just move on? You don't forgive and forget so easily, especially with Afghans. That's the first thing. Right now, they have a paper. They're saying everything is written on it, but nobody's showing it. You don't know if you can travel. You don't know if you can become a judge. You don't know if you're a third-year senior in political science, if you're ever going to be working in public administration, running for parliament, if there is going to be a parliament, if you're going to be going to school, if your daughter is going to go to school. All that things on just one people, and it's in the hands of who? People who are actually being controlled by regional partners that we want to talk about, right? So all those things are happening right now, and there is nobody to question them. In the past, let's say a woman was groped, harassed, whatever, she could have gone to the mahkama and she could have, like, went and filed a complaint, followed up with it. Justice, law and order was a slow process in Afghanistan. I don't want to deny it. Taliban were famous for their law and order, fast law and order. But then at the end of the day, that was a way that we could have taken. Right now, a day before yesterday, 2 women were actually harassed and all their gold was taken when they were going from school to home. These were teachers. And who do they go to now? That's the question. So when I'm trying to explain rights to you right now, there is a huge vacuum of uncertainty, but nobody to tell you exactly where we stand. It's not Sharia, it's not Afghaniyat, it's not Pashtunwali. If these are all things that they stand by, these are not where they stand. And at the end of the day, if they say, okay, this is the new regime, blah, 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 they're good people, they have changed everything. Okay, then where are their actions for women actually, right? So those are important things for me. And especially when it comes to, like, in the past, minorities are targeted. Right now they are targeted. Women are targeted. They are still targeted. Children are targeted. They are still targeted. And it's all because of few egoistic men who are brainwashed in some other country and claim to be, like, part of a thing that it's part of our Sharia or Islam or whatever. It's not us. So that's like the difference that we have right now.
Wow. Well, honestly, I don't see much in there being different from then to now, unfortunately. Yeah, because I think these are things which goes beyond the understanding of any of us. You may have a better understanding because you have learned and you have read the history about your region, your country, and the countries surrounding it, and all that, and the human history, probably, as in like political science. But as for a person like me, day-to-day normal person, illiterate, it just blows my mind that where do we draw the line? How do we know if we are living in a land of humans? Because this all has to do with humanity. Women being harassed. It doesn't matter if they're in US, in Bangladesh, or in Afghanistan. It's a human responsibility, right? So unfortunate that none of our governments, be it in the past or present, have been able to at least bring that, just the humanity. Unfortunate. Before I ask something, what was your favorite place to go and have some shiriach? Do you actually like to have a shiriach or no?
I love shiriach. I haven't seen enough one who doesn't like shiriach, but I roam around in Kandahar a lot, but though I did spend my time in Kabul, so I'm not sure if you've seen in Shahrinau that Charikar Shariach. It's very known, and we go there. I used to go there a lot. But apart from that, I also used to go to Khat Kutsa in Kandahar, where you go to this place where it's near Jama. It's Khat Kutsa. It's very known. It's that street, and that shiriach is amazing. It's much more better than. I just don't want to be me. So those 2 places, favorite shiriach.
Bravo. By Charakari, do you mean the Dada Khoday Charakari?
I don't remember, but it was Charikar, Shiriach, and ice cream. It was in Shahrinau, and it had this red board and this old guy who used to, like, who was printed on all the boards. Amazing.
Because if it was Dada Khoday Charakari, he's our next door neighbor.
Oh, wow.
And yes, so I'm pretty sure that I've tried that. And my younger sister, she was just obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Every day I had to buy her. Can you still go out and have some shiriach and stuff, or no? That's like hardly possible.
I was in Kabul last week. I went with my friends to Turkish. So I'm all covered and layered and everything. So it's funny story. So my friend who is from university, he comes and meets us up. We're talking about visas, and because all our universities being evacuated, so three of us, one is going to Bishkek, the other is going to Iraq, and I was still unknown. So we're all talking about it. And then we just come out and we are done with our chai sabs. And then when we are leaving, the Taliban are near elevator. And then my friend is like, it's okay. They will give you way. And when he moves forward, he's like, let's leave it. Let's go out. Let's leave it.
That's cool.
It was funny. He made this video and it was so funny. I was like, so you are scared of them? He's like, you don't have to be hero all the times, you know? I was like, I see that.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
you have to choose
funny.
your
Yeah, battles.
exactly. It's amazing that our people, the Afghans outside Afghanistan right now, especially the ones who have been raised in US or Europe, right? I mean, they have to really learn from this. You know, like you have been born and raised Afghanistan, not so far. I
Yeah,
mean, even though if you were on the other side of
the Durrani.
the borders, so yeah. And it's amazing that you, mashallah, you still have this high motivation, this high energy and hope for your people and your land. And you still have the courage, mashallah, to go out and have shiryakh and see a Talib dude, which most of the people would even thinking about it, they will just be in a shock. You know,
It's
they haven't even seen them.
see with them, with Taliban at first when so I was sent to this different place when I was being relocated to my own district, and then when I was coming back. So when you leave, your head is like, you know, because you're in deep depression, you're going through so much. You see that flag, and when you're Watan Parast, it affects you so much. It's like, you know, you're seeing a dead. I had been through that. When I was coming, my heart was like pounding. My sister kept on looking and she's like, she's gonna fall down. The Taliban are gonna look at them and look at her. That happened. That all happened. I went through that. It was traumatizing. I used to hold my tears every time I used to talk on media. But then when I came, and then I was the other day I was in Kandar and Moman Rukhtan. I go there. I'm standing for my test. And then this girl, she's with the Talib. Her father is a Talib fighter. They are sitting in front of the gynecologist's office, and they're waiting for them, their mother probably. So the girl comes and kisses him on the cheek and plays with his beard and sits on his lap. And then he kisses her and like, you know, loves her back. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, these people are like, you know, they have that sort of parenting, nurturing, like, you know, instinct, of course. But then what makes them do all this stuff? I thought to myself. But then I thought to myself, I was like, there were people who are not even Taliban who treated Afghanistan the way it is today. So for me, I don't know where to draw the line. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what to say, but at the end of the day, it's Afghans who are being affected. It's Afghans who are suffering. It's all these people, all these countries politicizing, weaponizing religion, ethnicities, groups, men, women, just to wage their wars in Afghanistan. And that makes me sad because at the end of the day, that girl, me, we could have been in the same country, but more peacefully. But we are not. I care about and my girls and my people, and they are first time free in their country for in 20 years, you know. So that's the difference right now.
How much of this whole conflict, and I would use this term again, misery of Afghanistan, could Afghan people actually take responsibility for? How much of it?
I think 30%, I'm gonna be honest. 30%, because Afghans, they were not the ones who were actually getting their election, like, you know, they could have voted percent that they wanted. The guy couldn't win because he was from a different ethnicity, and you know how Afghanistan works. It always has to be this president from this ethnicity. So I just really want to be very respectful of all these things when I'm talking about stuff. Voting rights were violated all the time. Individual civil rights were violated all the time. It's not like all these Ullah Swalan and Kumandan were good people. They abused people. They abused children, right? So these all things happened. But then Afghans didn't have any other place to go to or turn to, in practice. As I told you, back in the day, you could go to somewhere, mahkama, it would take time. The same would happen, of course. Right now, at the moment, it's 30% Afghan people. Maybe they could have come out and they could have fought it again. But I think after all this year, nobody's ready to bury another son. Nobody is. I'm not ready to bury my brother. So, of course, I know everyone is like that. Then our leaders, they are, of course, 50% entitled to this whole misery. Starting from the past two presidents, their team of minions, all these people from Kandahar, Afghanistan, everybody who came in, who was involved, who enabled corruption, who enabled some sort of all these elite classes, they were all part of it. Third, most importantly, I would say that Doha, when they legitimized Doha or the peace talks, all these people were responsible for destruction of misery and Afghanistan's destruction, 70%. 30%, we could have been united. We could have let go of all these corrupt leaders, but we didn't.
Would there be a day, you know more about this than me, obviously. India fought perhaps 200 years, or even more, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Jawaharlal Nehru and Gandhi, and I think it was Subhash Bose who was from Bangladesh. So all these people were actually at the very forefront when the revolution actually took place, right?
Yes.
Could this be considered as something in reality for Afghanistan, Afghan people? Or we will always go into this suffering conflict among each other and then allow others to come in and leech on us and drink? Is it something practical to hope for, or maybe never?
With Nehru, if you remember, the first time when India got independence, Nehru said that he took the control. He formed his own constitution. He followed British, but he didn't enable them further into India. He took a stand. When you study Pakistan, Jinnah, when first, it's not like I'm a big fan of Pakistani politics. I'm going to be honest. People are different. I don't have anything against the people. But the fact that the way their politics was made, it's always going to affect me mentally. So if you look at these two countries, both countries took their charge. They started with their own country. They started with their own poor countries. They were not, right? What we do, 2001, 2002, the country people come into Afghanistan. We give them everything. We're like, this is our land, abuse us in every other way. Abuse our people, drone them, attack them. Take our places, take our mines, take our minerals. We don't mind it as long as we stay in power. That's where it affects us. All those people, all these Jawaharlal Nehru, or even including Jinnah at times, all these people, they made sure that they don't take a penny as long as they are independent. With us, we're so fiscally dependent on the West that we forget all this thing at times. So for us, we have to be selfless. Gandhi, against Swaraj, he sat for days on hunger strike. I don't think a single Afghan politician who would sit on hunger strike.
Of course.
Gandhi was the first person who was like, let go of the British-made cotton. We will wear our own textile. We will manufacture our own salt. And it was a big controversy against the British. And what we do is take our minds, just as long as you give us one packet of flour. That's what we do.
Exactly. You can actually, or for the people who want to know a little bit more about that, there is a very famous interview of an Indian politician called Shashi Tharoor.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, exactly. And he shares this very particular story about Churchill and his politics against India. And when
Yeah,
India wanted to economically stand up for themselves, what was his actual reaction and how he actually uh, reacted towards that. And he says that all, unfortunately, he puts it out very clearly and beautifully. And you can tell,
yeah,
if we don't stand up for ourselves today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, this will never end. This will never go good. We will never see the light of the day ever again because the history has been repeating itself, repeating itself, repeating itself. It has become a circle of joke. People have been talking about this Khorasan new wing, whatever, and then we have got this new regime of the Tibans. I don't know, this could be a propaganda, this could be their own internal fractions now fighting for more power
yeah.
among each other now. Who knows? But there are names being used to be, uh, it used to be Ashrar, Mujahid, then Talib, then Al Qaeda, then blah blah. The names keep changing, the
But the
tactics
yeah,
remain the same.
and at the end of the day, the misery remains the same. No group is
Exactly.
like happy in Afghanistan. Not one group is
Of course.
like always there. I know people might question it when they say, okay, but Pashtuns were actually happy or something like that. I can attest to it that people in Helmand, people in rural Kandahar, people in Uruzgan suffered. The problem is our own government, because they were Pashtuns, they were very good in hiding it. That's all, right? And we were not good in standing up. We were not good in highlighting it either, because we wanted that petty position in ARG or AOP or something like that. We wanted to be part of that elite group that would go in SUVs, everyone,
Exactly.
that's how Afghanistan functioned and for the past 20 years. So yeah.
Khoray, before I let you go, I know that, as I said, you're very busy and your time is very, very precious. And I again really appreciate having you here. You're always welcome. You always are. Whenever you want, DM me and we'll go live and you can talk. Just for the last bit, and this is very important, is learn your work and
Yeah.
what you're trying so hard to. Is this the future for the Afghan children and girls as far as education goes?
Can you repeat that? I just
Is,
missed you. I had a
uh,
call.
so good. So learn. Is
Mm-hmm.
learn the future for what we can see now? Is this how it's gonna go, or is this just a transitional uh, path until we get to see what happens
So right now,
next?
with whatever we do with learn right now, it's because we want to be consistent. We don't want to let go of the hope, that light at the end of the tunnel. The more we understand how this regime is going to function, the more we are going to develop statistics or strategies around their restrictions. Of course, we're going to expand. I can't stop in Kandahar. I want to expand to Herat, Mazar, Lower Paktia, Mashriq Wal, and including central Afghanistan. I have partners. We are doing this. We're going to continue doing this. Because before me, there were amazing women in the 90s. There was no technology and they continue teaching, right? So at least right now we have resources and we can hold the world accountable for what they have done. It might take time, but we'll continue that. So with Learn, everything that we are doing will expand. Doesn't matter with what restrictions that might be imposed on us. The only problem right now is we have to be very careful about our children, our students, because I hold them very dear. I hold my teachers very dear. So I go a lot with safety and all that. So yeah, but we are definitely expanding. We are definitely working further because at the end of the day, country just because the US left, the international community left, doesn't mean Afghanistan is no more there. It's still living, it's still breathing, it's just injured right now, and we have to make sure that we are there for our mother. So that's like something that I would want to end with.
Bravo, bravo. I've got one question here that somebody has sent. I'm just going to try to read it. Thank you very much for inviting your wonderful guests today. You both are heroes. I'm not a hero. Thank
Oh no.
you very much for saying this. But my sister here is a lot behind the hero term. Last takeaways from our today's live before you go. What would be your message be to our females, to our sisters, to our mothers, to our well-educated females, especially
Yeah.
who are abroad, who are overseas? They have got good education. Alhamdulillah, they've got a good life. What would your message be for them? If not that what they're trying to do is still call out the foreign governments.
Yeah.
If there's another option instead of that, what would you call out to them? What is that they can do?
The very basic thing where mothers, our sisters are very good at is we have a connection back home. Everyone in Afghanistan, I read this somewhere the other day that Afghanistan is officially a country where there are more Afghans in the world rather than inside Afghanistan right now. So we are a lot, and everybody has relatives. I have like 400, 500 families that are related to me, this whole village. Every one of us is connected. People outside the country, they have WhatsApps. They are always connected with their khala, mama, and kaka, zamun, kakalor, everyone. Right now is the time that you pay back, not pay back because the country never gave you a lot except the identity at times. And even for that, people are called out in the West. I know how it works there at times for their color, for everything. Right now is the time that people who hold that identity dear, who hold Afghanistan dear to them, start making those circles within your groups. Start educating your own women, even if they're not educated on a reading, writing level. Educate them visually. Educate them audio-wise. Educate them on different stances and traditions. It's not always politics. Make them physically empowered. It's a lot of different ways. You can teach them how to use Instagram. They can put on their different products. They can use that Instagram to sell their own items. Of course, it's not a new idea that I'm sharing. People can do it. But that's that connection between people back home and them outside, that's missing. And that woman who is in, let's say, in Sydney or in Europe or anywhere else, she can actually promote it. Hey, this is my cousin. She's working back home. She wants to sell this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you guys help her? Why don't you order it? Why don't you Venmo it or whatever, how it works? That's the first step. Second is, of course, educating them, digitally literating them. I'm not saying it's the problem, it's the solution to all our problems, but it's a step further into the future. We can, of course, focus on foreign governments and all that, but at the same time, we always have to do practical work. As an activist, I have believed that calling out is important, but as an Afghan, I believe that groundwork is very important. You always have to have studies. Everything is supposed to go on. So financial stability, financial empowerment right now, because Afghanistan is going through economic crisis. Education, literacy on that level, and helping them out sustain their lives, even if they want to stay in Afghanistan. Let them have sustainable lives, access to that, find solutions for that, collaborate, run your own small circles, I call them gangs. Do that. That's much easier rather than on big policies right now.
Bravo, bravo. I think that sums up a lot of things. That gives us a lot of things to work for and to think about. I don't think that many people have thought about this yet. I hadn't, honestly. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Of course, thank you.
I hope from our God, our Lord, that to keep you safe, to keep your family safe, so you get to do this beautiful and noble cause as you are doing today. This was Voices from the Mountains with our sister Pashtana Barakzai Durrani. Thank you very much. May God bless you. And you're always welcome. Hope to see you again. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.